There's a famous question about the dream that Yaakov has about the angels going up and down the ladder, which is the image that we are presented with at the very beginning of Parsha Vayatze. Vayachalom, Yaakov is in a state where he has just left his parents' home in Eretz Yisrael. He is going to Chutz La'aretz. He's going to Nachor. He's going to Aram to meet up with Lavan and his family. Going to live with his uncle for a little while, and he's got to go to Chutz La'aretz. And he has a dream as he's at the border of leaving Eretz Yisrael. Behold, there is a ladder, mutzav arza, with its legs firmly planted on the ground, v'rosho magia hashamayma. The top of the ladder is going up to the heavens. V'hinei malachei Elokim olim v'yoredim bo. The angels of God are ascending and descending the ladder. The famous question is, as Rashi says, olim v'yordim, source number 2, olim tchila v'achar kach yordim. First they're going up and then coming down. What would you expect of an angel? Where do angels reside? We associate angels as residing in heaven. And so therefore, if we were to have an image of angels on a ladder, we would assume that they were coming down the ladder first and then going up the ladder. Why does it say that the angels ascended and then descended the ladder? So Rashi takes one approach from Chazal, from the Midrash, which is Malachim shelivuhu ba'aretz ein yotzeim chutza la'aretz ve'alu la'rakia v'yaradu malachei chutza la'aretz lelavoto. Rashi says that there was a changing of the guard, that up until this point, Yaakov was being escorted by the angels of Eretz Yisrael. He gets to the border, and the angels of Eretz Yisrael say, Ad kan, we cannot go any further. We are not able to leave to Chutz La'aretz, and therefore our time has come to depart from you and to go back up to heaven. But don't worry, Yaakov, changing of the guard, just as they go up, other angels that are in charge of Chutz La'aretz come down. They will escort you the rest of the way. So that answers the question. Why does it say Olim v'yordim? Because the angels that were with you up until now are going to ascend, and the angels that will be escorting you from here on in are descending. Olim, and then Yordim. The new angels are Yordim. That's one answer. That's the popular answer. And by the way, if you look at the end of Parshas Vayatze, after 20 years, actually, really it's more like 34 years, because he spends 14 years in Shem Va'ever, and then he goes 20 years in Lavan's house. So after all of those decades of being away from Eretz Yisrael, on his return trip, the angels come back to greet him. If you take a look at the end of the Parsha, you'll see that he confronts the same angels who are waiting for him to come back, which is a very comforting idea. When you leave Eretz Yisrael, you've got angels that are waiting for you at the border to bring you back in. They call them customs agents. But anyway, and then they bring you back in. Anyway, so that's the conventional answer. Let's look at a deeper answer. Targum Yonatan ben Uziel. Bit of a controversy as when it's written, but Yonatan ben Uziel is a Tana. He lives in the period of the destruction of the temple, and some say that it's a little bit later. Some people call this pseudo-Jonathan. Some scholars say that it's written about 2 or 3 centuries after the Common Era. But regardless, it is an authoritative text written completely in Aramaic. And I have for you in sources 3 and 4 both the Targum Yonatan and the Keter Yonatan, which is basically a commentary which essentially simply just translates the Targum of Yonatan ben Uziel from a difficult Aramaic back into Hebrew. So let's just read source number 4. The Keter Yonatan says, Vayachalom. V'hinei sulam mutzav ba'aretz v'rosho magia ad chibur hashamayim. Yaakov has a dream. The ladder is resting on the ground. If you don't mind just closing the door, please, if I can bother you to do that. Thank you. And its head reaches until the attachment to the heavens. V'hinei, now listen to what the Targum says. Shnei malachim shahalchu lisdom v'goreshu mimichitzoteihem. There were two angels that had been with Yaakov up until now. These were the same two angels who went to Sodom. What is the Targum speaking about? Which two angels went to Sodom?
The one
Yes, the story that from Avraham in Parshat Vayera. There were three angels that visited Avraham. One was to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child. He finishes his task. Goodbye. Two angels left. They travel to Sodom. One is in charge of destroying Sodom. The other one is in charge of saving Lot. These two angels have been forced to remain on earth ever since the story with Avraham. Right? Why? Min biglal shegilu sodot shel adon olam vehayu megorashim. What is the reason? What does it say?
That
they told over secrets of the master of the universe. And therefore they were rejected. They were kicked out of heaven because they revealed God's secrets. V'holechim adzman sheyatsa Yaakov mi beit aviv. Okay, so says Targum Yonatan, V'holchim adzman sheyatsa Yaakov mi beit aviv. They were consigned to walking the earth until Yaakov was able to leave Eretz Yisrael. V'hem milavim oto b'chesed ad Beit El. And they escorted Yaakov until he got to Beit El, and from there they left him. Uvayom hahu alu lishmei marom. And on that day, they were able to go back up to heaven. V'onim ve'omrim atem ro'im Yaakov ha'chasid shediyukno asher lo kavua b'kisei ha'kavod she'item mitavim l'rot oto b'kach sha'ar malachim kedoshim shel Hashem yordim li'stakel bo. And says Targum Yonasan that Yaakov had the same visage, the same facial appearance as his grandfather Avraham. And he says that you see Yaakov the righteous, whose facial appearance is embedded in the Kisei HaKavod, in God's throne. You wanted to see the divine throne, you get now to go back up to heaven. That's Olim. And the other angels who see Yaakov's appearance, they want to come and look. So they come down to look at Yaakov's divine appearance. So therefore, according to Targum Yonatan, Olim refers to the two angels who had been consigned to walk the earth. The Medrash says that you know how many years that was between the time when they came to destroy Sodom until they brought Yaakov to that point in Beit El? The Medrash says it's in source number 6. Rabbi Levi b'shem Rav Nachman malachei asharet al yedei shegilu mastorin shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because they revealed God's secrets, nidchu mimichitzatan me'a ushloshim ushmoneh shana. They were forced to wander the earth and be in exile from heaven for 138 years. 138 years they got kicked out of heaven because they revealed God's secrets. Now the Meforshim explain what secrets did they reveal. Let's take a look at source number 5. What?
To who?
And to whom? With an N. Right. So number 5 says, Ki mashchitim anachnu et hamakom hazeh, ki gadla tza'akatam et b'nei Hashem, vayishalachenu Hashem l'shachata. That was their crime. Too talkative. TMI. What did they say? They told Lot, you got to leave because we are destroying this place. Why are we destroying this place? That's when they should have stopped. Ki mashchitim anachnu et hamakom hazeh was all they were supposed to say. They were supposed to tell Lot, we're destroying this place, get out. Not why. None of your business. So when they said in the second part of the pasuk, Ki gadlat sa'akatam et b'nei Hashem, because their cries have reached the face of God and God has sent us to destroy it, that's divine knowledge. God, you are not authorized to do that, O angels. And therefore it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to stay here. You have to remain in exile until you can rectify that sin.
So what form were they in? Were they in a
Hold on. I know you got a lot of questions. I'm going to answer those questions, and whatever you still have lingering, you can ask at the end. Okay. Now, where do we see that it's wrong for the angels to reveal this information? So if you take a look in source number 7, who else was informed that Sodom was going to be destroyed? Avraham himself was informed. But why did Hashem decide to inform Avraham? So when you see why Hashem chooses to inform Avraham, then you get a clue as to why Hashem is upset with the angels for telling Lot. It's none of Lot's business why I'm doing this. But Hashem says, Vashem amar hamechaseh ani me Avraham asher ani oseh. Do I have a right to hide from Avraham that which I'm about to do? Va'Avraham hayo yihiyeh legoy gadol ve'atzum v'nivruchu vo kol goyei haaretz. Avraham is going to become a great nation, the source of blessing for the whole land. Ki yedativ leman asher yitzavet banavet beito acharav. I know that he's going to give charge to his descendants on following the ways of God. They're going to serve me. They're going to fulfill my laws. And therefore, is what Hashem is saying, Avram needs to know the ways of Hashem. But Lot, knowledge can sometimes be very destructive. Curiosity killed the cat. A lot of times knowing things that you're not meant to know, the man who knew too much can cause a person's demise. And by the way, that's exactly what happened in the case of Lot. Why is it that this knowledge that Hashem was destroying the nation, the people of Sodom, because they are evil? Because they are evil. Why is that destructive knowledge? Well, look what happened in the story of Lot and his daughters. Vatomer habichira el hatzira avinu zakein, v'ish ein ba'aretz lavo aleinu kederech kol haaretz. The elder daughter says to the younger daughter, we're going to need our father to impregnate us because there's no man left in the world. And as Rashi says, Sevurot hayusha kol ha'olam necherav kemo dor hamabul. They thought that the whole world was being destroyed. Because once they heard that the reason why God is destroying Sodom is because of evil, they said the whole world is filled with evil. It's not just Sodom. As far as we know, it's the human condition. And if God is destroying Sodom because of that, he's destroying the entire world. So this is the important point. The angels were directly responsible for causing this tragedy to happen with Lot and his daughters. And they therefore needed to atone for this. Now, you're immediately struck with the difficulty that is inherent with what the Medrash is suggesting. And what is the difficulty? Since when do angels get to decide what they're going to say? Since when do angels decide what they're going to do? So this is a much lengthier conversation. We've talked about it in the past, I'm sure over the course of the last number of years, when we've been talking about angelology. And the general approach of Chazal is that an angel is sent by God to fulfill a task, but does not have the bechira, does not have the same free will that a mortal being does, with one exception. when an angel is placed in mortal form in a physical body, it is the physicality of that body that allows an angel to err in judgment. And that's the reason why, when the angels were placed in physical bodies, they became prone to error. This is what happened, that famous story at the end of Parshat Bereshit. Vayiru b'nei ha'Elohim et benot ha'adam ki tovot heina, vayikchu lahem nashim mikol asher bacharu. The Torah says that the sons of God saw the daughters of man and took from whomever they desired. Our sages tell us that the sons of God in the Jewish faith really refers to what? Refers to angels. The angels had complained to Hashem, why don't you just destroy mankind completely? Ma enosh ki tizkerenu uven atam ki tifkedenu. As it says in Psalms, what is man that you should be mindful of him? Just wipe him out. What a flawed and disrespectful creature that he is. Just wipe him out. And Hashem said, you don't understand, man. You totally don't get it. Man has an amazing neshama. But when you put that neshama in a corporeal shell, terrible things happen. Overpowering urges take place that you have no appreciation for angels. And in order to show you what life, what existence is like, having the physical side weighing upon you constantly, I'm going to take you, put you into physical bodies, and send you down to earth. See, normally an angel is not meant to be placed inside a physical body. An angel is supposed to exist independent of the physical plane. But sometimes for specific tasks, Hashem will place an angel inside a corporeal shell, just like a human being. Not a human being, but like a human being, because a malach is not a neshama, two different kinds of creations. But they can be sometimes, for these purposes, an angel can be put into a human body, and that's what happened. And all of a sudden, according to our tradition, these angels were so overcome with physical urges that this was God's lesson to them. Plus, it was also a great defense of the human condition, because they sinned far worse than human beings did, these angels, these fallen angels. So we believe in the idea of a fallen angel, right, even though that's more of a Christian concept. So this, according to Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, is what has taken place over here. The three angels were sent, placed in physical bodies. They each one had a mission, but because they were part of the physical world, they were prone now to human error. And the error was TMI. You're not being modest with God's knowledge. Just because you're privy to information doesn't mean you should be revealing it. We have a problem in society today that we are prone to revealing too much information. Today, if you go on your social media feed, you will find about what a guy had for breakfast because he wants to share it with the entire world. And there does not seem to be any sense of discretion anymore, any sense of modesty. Now, what does this have to do with the story of Yaakov Avinu? Because if we're going to make sense of any of this, we have to figure out, okay, so these angels are being punished because they revealed too much information to Lot and his daughters, created damage thereby, so they have to rectify it before they're ready to come back up to heaven. So how does their escorting Yaakov enable them? You know that story about earning your wings, right? From It's a Beautiful Life. I assume you've all seen that movie, It's a Beautiful Life. Right, if you haven't, you must leave immediately and go watch it, because that's a Frank Capra classic, right? What's his name? Jimmy Stewart. I mean, it was on every Erev Krachmas on TV, right? I mean, that's what we used to watch. There was nothing else to watch. So Clarence has to earn his wings because he's a fallen angel. So this is the story. These malachim have to wander the earth until they earn their wings. How is escorting Yaakov allowing them to earn their wings? So perhaps we may suggest as follows. What did Rivka say to Yitzchak after Yaakov took the blessings in last week's Parsha? She says, I realize that Esav poses a threat. He's going to try and kill Yaakov if we don't send him away. And so what happened is that immediately she says to Yitzchak, we've got to send Yaakov away now. Not tomorrow morning, not in a week, not when we get him a new suitcase so he can pack nicely. Now. He's got to leave now. Just give him whatever we can and get rid of him. And that's exactly what happens. That Yaakov goes to Padan Aram, even it seems, under the cover of night. These angels are escorting him, and they're doing it with absolute secrecy. They are doing it without any notoriety, without any publicity, without any fanfare. A tzaddik? We're going to escort a tzaddik? We should be letting the world know that a tzaddik is leaving Eretz Yisrael and coming to Chutz La'aretz on his world tour. And everyone should know about it. But no, there are times when even grand things are taking place in the world. But there's our divine plans that in order for them to succeed, need to take place in secrecy, need to take place with humility, and without being exploded in public in very loud voices. And that's the reason why when the angels were able to escort Yaakov in absolute secrecy to be able to protect him from Esav, they learned their lesson and they were able to go back up to Shemayim. And that, I think, is the reason why there's an association between their revealing too much information and their ability to be discreet and to keep a secret until Yaakov was whisked to safety in the house of Lavan. This immodesty, this abusive type of overexposure takes place in the Torah community as well. Can anyone think of some examples? It's a certain kind of crassness that takes place even within the Orthodox world. When rabbis go on social media and they say, this happened because of this. And I know because our sages teach us that when this happens, then this happens. One example of this was an extreme distortion of reality. When a rabbi got on social media and he said, the people in Pittsburgh were killed because they were in a reform temple and there was a bris of a gay couple and all of these things happened, right? This is the ultimate crassness. First of all, it's not true. The events did not happen as that rabbi thought that they did, so he was just prattling nonsense. But even if there was even a kernel of truth, sometimes there may be kernels of truth contained within statements that are made by people who feel that they want to try and connect the dots. Sometimes you can connect the dots for yourself, but to do so on such a public level, which brings dishonor to the Torah because you're oversimplifying the complexities of God's plan. And you're trying to spell everything out and make it all so simple and obvious. That's the problem. And great destruction can come from that. Just the same way that these angels try to explain to Lot what's going on. When you try to explain esoteric ideas to people who aren't ready to hear them, you have to really be prepared to take the consequences. We find this idea in Sefer Yetzirah. We'll learn about it later. Belom picha is what it says in Sefer Yetzirah. There are certain things when you have to state certain situations which require silence. You don't have to comment on everything. You don't have to try and explain everything. You want to try and find an explanation for yourself, that's fine. But when you try to oversimplify things that are very complex and you have no right to declare that you know the reason for them, then you get yourself into trouble.
So what about if it's like for negative things? So like I remember years ago, there was a very right-wing synagogue near where we lived, and I think apparently there were a lot of like bad things that had happened, tragedies that happened, and some of the rabbis were saying that that happened because people were too ostentatious and too flashy and too, I guess, arrogant more in the way they behaved. That people should be more humble. And
Yeah, you want to know something? I think that's wrong. I think that's an exactly appropriate example of what I'm talking about. Don't presume to know why bad things are happening. It is within the purview of the Rabbanim to say we feel that there is a flaw within our community that needs to be rectified. But don't correlate it to tragedy. Don't correlate it and say, this is why it's happening. You know why children are dying? Because our women are not dressed tznius. Always goes back to the women, doesn't it? These rabbis are fixated. Sometimes these rabbis are fixated on the way women are dressed. I'm not sure why that is.
well, what about
Or because your shaitels are too long, right? Right?
Or you didn't check your mezuzah.
Or you didn't check your mezuzah, or whatever the reason is. No one has a right, no one's a navi. No one has a right to make those kinds of presumptuous statements.
So, Rabbi, what about they say that all as the scholars were dying because of Sfinat China?
The rabbis tell us that.
So
It's,
that's
yeah, that's fine. In Torah Sheba'al Peh, the rabbis are endowed with the knowledge of both history and Ruach HaKodesh. They can provide us perspectives of history, looking back generations ago, and they also are endowed with greater wisdom than we are, to know. A lot of times these things were passed down as a tradition. There are times when we can teach people lessons of history and learn not to repeat those lessons. But when a community is going through a difficult situation, to pronounce upon them that it happened because that's totally inappropriate. And even great rabbis have gotten themselves in trouble by overstepping those boundaries. We're going to have to stop it here today.